Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Khush Amdeed. Ji ayanu. Goeiemorgen.
Pakhairagele, ni hao, chunishumme, washwale, ohio gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifahal, hale shumachatore, ahlan wasalan marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, and
Wow.
a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I'm absolutely great. How are you? And I see you've added two more words to your
Yeah,
hellos.
yeah, yeah. And it's because of the fact that I actually started watching this new season, and I think it's probably in Mexican language as well.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so what happens is that obviously I get to know what's happening within that season from the subtitles.
Right, right.
But other than that, the people or the cast, they all this time they just speak Mexican.
Oh.
So that's where I learned it from as well. Mucho, gracias, and there are other few words, but I think they are abusive in nature, so I'm not going to use them.
No,
What
but it's
about
great.
you? What have you been up to?
I've been studying and everything the same boring routine, but it's great that you're actually learning new languages, and maybe you can pass on some words to me when you learn new ones,
Yeah,
because I only have the basic ones.
yeah, we can do that. And this is why, I've got a small message. So,
Okay.
so for all those people who are out there, in life, we get so busy and we get so hooked up with things that, we just forget to smile. And, then there are certain people within the society or people who actually surround us who probably will take out time and will forward you a good message, or probably they'll share a joke with you too as well.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, please make sure on a lighter note that you do joke around, but not
Yeah.
joke around with like things which can probably harm you or can have repercussions. So just joke like in words. So for example, you just said that, okay, if you're learning these languages, you can share a few words with me.
Yeah.
So imagine, so bilingual, right? So
Yeah.
bilingual is anybody who can actually probably speak in more than two languages or one language. More than one language is
Yeah.
bilingual. So people, what happens is when you start speaking other languages, I don't know why, but it happens that you start losing vocabulary from both the languages. So then it
Yes.
becomes bilingual.
Right.
BYE, bilingual.
Oh,
Yeah, see, it was a
oh,
joke.
okay, I get it. Fun. Very nice, very
And
nice.
you know what, people who are out there, so she told me to crack a joke and she said that she's going to laugh, and she did. So, and I was like,
No,
man,
it was
I
like
never knew
really funny. I
any
can,
joke which can actually make people laugh.
yeah, I can't hold my breath. It was like really funny. But I'll tell you how it started. So in the beginning, we were talking about what lighthearted messages we can give out to you
Yeah.
guys early in the morning. And I asked Jazad if you have a message, and he was like, "Oh, of course I do on my phone."
Yeah.
It's funny, like he meant text message, SMS.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on with what we're talking about today. Ladies and gentlemen, before that, today is a historical groundbreaking day for Pakistan and India because of
Yeah.
the Kartarpur border thingy. And
Exactly.
it's going to start 11 onwards, and you can catch all the live updates on PTV World.
Yeah.
But so
And
back
Sidhu
to,
Saab is over here in Pakistan as well. So, while I was on my way, I was reading the
yeah.
newspaper, and he made a statement which was very funny, and that was that without effort, everything is dandruff. I don't know why he said that, but he said that. Yeah.
No, but yeah, makes total sense. So, just yesterday when I opened the show, I was telling them that I went to my doctor because of my flu that I get every other day. And he told me, "Did you get your flu shots?" And I was actually shocked. There are flu shots. I did not know of it. My family didn't know of it. A
I've
lot
been
of people
speaking
did.
about it on so
I
many
thought like
times.
whatever, I didn't take it seriously,
Yeah.
but then I found out it's actually a thing. So this is one of the things that we're talking about today. The basic health issues that we face every other day and how to deal with them actually.
Exactly. I think that we are actually going to be in conversation. Obviously, we'll be in conversation with family physicians over here. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, normally whenever we are in the house, so there are a few things which our mother keeps on telling us. Oh, wear your chappal. Oh, wear a sweater when you go out. Oh, wear a cap. And we're like, oh, mom, we're fine.
Exactly.
So, these little things, I think if we look after them, we can probably stay 100% healthy and fit too as well. But as a matter of fact, we're human beings. Everybody makes mistakes. For example, what can be the repercussions of walking bare feet within your own house? I mean, if it's carpeted.
catch
But if it's not
colds.
carpeted, you can probably catch a cold.
Yeah.
And other than that, talking about these flu shots or flu vaccine, so if you go to any laboratory or any doctor, you see these banners over there where they say that, probably you can get a flu shot or whatnot. But other than that, so I asked one person whether I should be getting a flu shot or not, but he or she actually said that you should always consult your doctor first and then get a vaccine shot, not by your own
Okay.
self that you go in and, okay, give me one shot. because you don't know what you might probably be allergic to as well. So on my right hand side to discuss all of these issues, we have been joined by some very apt guests, and Shiza is going to do the introductions today.
Okay, so both of them happen to be family physicians, and they've been practicing and learning this from the UK, and they've been living there for a very long time. And after that, they just decided to come back to Pakistan and serve their country, serve their community. And they happen to be a couple as well. On my right-hand side, we've been joined by Dr. Bilal Firdaus Khan. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being here. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be here.
Our pleasure to have you. And next to Dr. Bilal, we have Dr. Shazia Rahman. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. How are you?
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us. But
you.
the first thing which I'm going to ask is probably not related with the topic we're discussing today. So obviously, when we got the message and when we got the details related to you two, and it said that you guys are a couple. So, and after going through your names, I just thought that, should I be asking them whether they're a couple or not? So what happened? So you do not want to use Dr. Bilal's name with your name?
Oh, your religion gives you the liberty to actually
Yeah, but I'm just asking on a lighter note, see?
Yeah.
I know. Obviously you can, but generally I think if you change it, it's a big hassle going through all your paperwork.
Yeah,
ID card and
ID
everything,
card, my degrees and post-graduation, everything needs to be changed. So,
Okay, so that's
just
why
kept it to my dad's name.
Okay, if it's fine with you guys, we do not have a problem. But let's get started. So let's get started from flu shots first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, flu shots, who should be the one getting them? I mean, is anybody vulnerable to, whatever weather changes we face?
Indeed. I think it's something which on a larger scale everyone should have. Okay. For example, in America, their guidelines state anyone above 6 months of age should have flu shots yearly.
Okay.
So that's on a larger scale. In those countries which have a bit of a rationalized sort of health system, ration health system, like England, for example, or UK, over there they tend to target the high-risk groups. So in an ideal world, probably everyone should have it. But if it's not possible, then those people who are at high risk of complications from a flu infection should have that.
Right.
Because we all think flu is a harmless infection. But the fact of the matter is, every year, literally hundreds and thousands of people die of flu.
Oh my
Die
God.
of flu.
Literally, and I'm not exaggerating here.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So
And
let me
it-
move
I'm
on
sorry.
to
Okay, yeah, please
But
go
let me move on to Dr. Shazi over. Now, Dr. Shazi, you're talking about flu shots. For example, Dr. Bilal very rightly said that hundreds of people die, and it's because of the fact that there might be people suffering from leukemia, weaker immune systems, and once the flu starts, it stays for long, and we've seen that the viral tends to stay for longer periods now. Now, for all those people who are suffering from these diseases, don't you think that they should actually get themselves checked up first and ask a doctor before getting a shot?
Yes.
Or is it just safer, like in general, for everyone?
I mean, generally, obviously, like Dr. Bilal said, the high-risk group, if not everyone, the high-risk group, that is the high-risk group, children, elderly above 65, and then all the other people with chronic health issues like respiratory problem, heart problems, like you said, leukemias, or any sort of general health that weakens their immunity, obviously they should have it.
Right. So talking about family physicians, lately everyone is their own doctor. We have talked about this on the show so many times. Your phone, Google is your best friend, right? And especially the myths your grandmother or mother tells you, especially when you have probably, Shazad and I were discussing if you have a painful ear, garam tel dalo theek ho jayega, or things like that. So first of all, how important is it to have a family physician? And for all those people who are actually their own doctors, or Google is their doctor, are they safe?
Well, I think the basic core message is stop Googling.
Exactly.
Just
It
stop
always leads to
Googling.
something so fatal, it's so scary.
It will scare you. One, it will scare you. The problem is generally your doctor will give you some diagnosis.
Right.
People just tend to go home and Google it up. Now, Google is obviously not the doctor. The information that comes via a doctor is obviously particular to that person. But if you Google it, you're going to find all those rare cases or things that actually you're not
The most
supposed to.
exciting things.
Yeah,
actually.
the exciting things, but not really the fact. So that would scare you more than as compared to, getting some relief through it.
Right.
So I would say probably stop Googling,
Okay.
see your doctor, family physicians.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. But now adding on to that, so half of the time what happens is that, people do not know the difference in between a viral and influenza and allergies. So, I think what we need to do is we need to probably shed more light onto this area. because every time we get a viral, we say it's flu, or every time we get flu, we say it's infection or something other than that. So how do we differentiate in between them, first of all, and what are the different treatments available?
That's true. Obviously, the role of the doctor comes in there. So people can mistake the flu for an allergy and vice versa. So you should consult your doctor. Generally tends to be that people who have a flu, it is a very sudden thing. They become unwell, they have a fever, they may have a sore throat, they may have cough, and it tends to last for a week, 10 days, and it tends to get better after that. And the cough may linger on for another week or two, and then it gets better. Allergy tends to be a bit more of a chronic problem. It tends to last for a few weeks or months, and usually tends to be more associated with a runny nose or runny eyes. Some people may get a little bit of cough with that as well. So obviously, this is a good example where one should not be Googling. So one should consult a medical professional, and ideally it should be your family physician. And once he diagnoses it, then he may guide you to some reputable sources to read up about it. I often tell my patients, never Google your symptoms. What you should Google, if you want to, is the diagnosis. Once the doctor tells you you have such and such disease, you could Google about it, but even then you may get a lot of misleading information. So ideally it should be read about in a medically validated sort of website. So where the health authorities recommend that you should go, and that's what I tend to do with my patients. I often tell them about some reputable websites where they can get more information about their condition. But the bottom line is never Google your symptoms.
Right. So you must consult a family physician first in order to check later on. So now I want to come down to some of the basic facts that we get to hear about winter specifically, and I want you guys to address them. First of all, being my favorite, do not drink water with dry fruit / peanuts. Is that a thing actually? Does that, what does that do to you?
Not a lot.
Nothing actually. Oh, thank you for saying that.
I mean, there are a lot of facts, a lot of myths, in fact.
Myths,
and the basic thing to understand is sudden changes of temperature can actually lead to trauma to your throat. So if you are very hot and you drink chilly cold water, and you're not used to that, it may cause a little bit of irritation to your throat, which then may, in some people, lead on to them getting an infection. But obviously, flu is not because of drinking cold water. But I think common sense applies. So a lot of the things that you hear are based on common sense, but a lot of them are myths as well. So not to drink water, on top of a banana or milk, and lots of such things, which we now know have nothing to do with diseases or cholera or other things like that. But on the whole, I think common sense. Just don't expose your body to extremes of temperature. That's
sudden fluctuation
easy. Sudden fluctuation is not something the body takes easily to.
So we came down to a point where, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about common sense, and it does not really seem to me that it's that common too as well. But moving on to Dr. Shazia over. Now, Dr. Shazia, obviously anybody, or if you suggest that people should actually get flu shots, there's this one thing, there's this natural process of the body. So I think that, all those excretions, we call them mucus, right? So, if the mucus, so they say when you get flu, so you have a running nose, the mucus is changing within the body. Does it do any good to the body when it changes? And if we stop changing it by applying those vaccine shots, what will happen to the body?
Actually, it doesn't really work like that if I shed a bit light on it. Flu shot is sort of immunity which we want to give you before you get anything. Now, why do we say flu? Like Dr. Bilal said, there's a difference between flu and the common cold we get. Generally, the problem here is whoever gets cold, a mild cough or whatever, they'll say, I got flu. That's not flu. Flu is the proper body aches, fever that really runs you down. What the flu shots does is actually give you that little bit of edge, immunity, so you're not that prone to it. You might get a little bit of cold, but not really flu. Why we shouldn't get it, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't do anything to your body that I would say that, it would prevent you from or give you any harm to your body. No, I think the latest studies up till now, whatever we have, is it protects you, it helps you. It doesn't do any changes in the body in a sense where I would say the mucus production or anything that is supposed to happen naturally otherwise would stop. No, I think it just gives you that little bit of boost to your body, immunity, especially in those chronic cases who are very prone to getting infections. Come winter, they start getting, one infection after other. So obviously getting the flu shot would help you with that.
Exactly.
It doesn't give you 101% protection. That's another thing to know, because generally people say, oh, I got my flu shot and I got flu. It can happen, but it would reduce the number. It would definitely reduce the number.
I think that's what everybody wanted, because so Shiza, you know, what we're going to do right now is that I'm going to tell one thing which I hate the most about flu, and then you're going to tell me one thing, okay? So what I hate the most, ladies and gentlemen, is that, you know, for example, it's your first or second day with flu, and you're lying down to sleep, and you cannot breathe from your nose, and you have to open your mouth all night long.
I know.
And then somewhere in the middle of the night, your throat is so dry that you actually have to get up to drink water, and then you cannot go back to sleep again because, you know, your nose is blocked. So this is one thing which I hate the most. What about you?
So with me, it's a little different. I think I have these allergies. Like half of my face gets sort of numb, and the eye cannot open. It's so watery, it keeps watering. Even on the show, I think last week we were just, I could not look into the lights and everything, not even into the camera.
It might be a funny side though, you know,
It
one eye is twitchy.
always, it is always, but it gets so irritating, right? Because it's not the flu that, or the cough, or the throat that bothers me anymore. It's the headache and the eyes. It is so watery, I can't deal with it.
So now I just wanted to bust a few myths as well.
Okay.
So for example, you know, whenever the kids in the house, you know, somebody probably pokes a finger into the heater or whatnot, and then they get a burn. So all of a sudden the first voice or the first thing you hear is, oh, get a toothpaste and apply some on it. Does it help?
It does help initially. Okay, it does ease the pain. But obviously, the next thing that you need to do after that is to get to a doctor as soon as you can, so he can give you the proper treatment.
Okay, so and the second one is where, God forbid, I don't know whether to talk about it or not, but God forbid if you have like a slight cut in your hand, you know, you probably need to do something about it. So people these days, what they're doing is that they're applying deodorants on it as well, because it's an antiseptic as well. Is it right or wrong?
I would definitely not
The sound
recommend
of
that.
it burns
Quite a
already.
few myths there.
Because obviously, when your skin gets cut, you know what happens, the germs on the skin, they tend to go inside it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that can cause an infection. So the first thing you want to do is you want to wash it thoroughly with soap and water.
Okay.
And depending on how bad the cut is, you may want to see a doctor, or you may want to just apply an antiseptic or just a dressing on top of it.
No, but God forbid if you do not have any other antiseptic, I've done it. I'm sorry. Okay, I admit. So what I did was that I used the
cuts, you can
deodorant.
probably do it, like
No,
not
not
something
paper
big.
cuts. Paper cuts. Who puts an antiseptic on a paper cut? Yeah.
What
What
you have
else
to
to do?
remember is two things. Obviously, the soap will actually wash away a lot of the dirt and many of the germs. And if you don't have anything available, at least you should have an alcoholic hand rub,
Okay.
which will then kill the germs.
Yeah.
But deodorants and these things have lots of other chemicals which may actually cause an issue.
We have iodine and Dettol in every other room in our house.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, minor or major, that is our go-to
clean it
thing.
up.
That would be perfect, especially, but you have to wash the hands first with soap and
Right,
water
right.
thoroughly. That's always the key,
Yeah.
to get rid of all the dirt, anything that may have gone into the wound.
Okay.
Once you do that, then iodine is perfectly fine.
And now a few more things before we wrap up this segment. Those are that, so within this season, we'll be using a lot of gas, and that too for heating, hot water and whatnot. So what are the effects of sitting right in front of the heater all day long? Because, you know, the skin starts to get dry, you know, your throat feels a little itchy if you're just right in front of the heater sitting. So what should we be doing if we are actually lighting up heaters within our own houses?
I think the foremost, you need to make sure there's adequate ventilation.
Okay.
So all these heaters, they dry up and oxygen levels go down in the room. So there should be some opening from which air can enter and you can have a draft in the room. Then you need to keep a reasonable distance from the heater. Obviously, that will dry up your secretions. It will dry up the air that goes inside your nose.
Yeah.
And then that can cause a throat irritation as well as a nose irritation.
Okay.
I remember when we used to be in UK, we used to have lots of radiators in the rooms, which are a much better way of heating than dry heat.
Yeah.
But even those would sometimes cause dryness, and people would put pots of water on top of radiators just to get some
hot towels.
or hot towels,
Yeah.
just to get some moisture in the air.
Okay,
So definitely, it's important to have adequate moisture. Which could be in the form of steamer, which are available these days, or it could be a pot of water close to the heater, just to get some moisture in the air. Because dry air is not good for your airways. It tends to cause irritation. And once the throat is irritated, then that can lead on to other throat issues.
Okay, and I think that the best question over here will be that if we ask Dr. Shazia what are the remedies she's opting for at her own place. I mean, for how to look after kids in this season especially as well. So what kind of precautionary measures do you take within your own house?
If I come from what we do, I think you'll be surprised, because I hear it often from the family, do this and do that, and to be honest, we generally don't.
Okay.
I think just stay normal, natural. Don't go over the board. What I've seen here in Pakistan, I am Pakistani, I know my family, everyone. I think we tend to go a little bit over the board, you know, big hat on, woolly jumpers and high necks and tights, and you know, you're so wrapped up, though you're indoors with heaters. I think poor kids, they're sweating.
You know, it's the opposite
So-
at my place actually. I am the one who is like probably layered like 5 to 6 times because I feel so cold. None of my family members do, and they're making fun of me. They haven't put heaters out yet,
Yeah.
and I need one in my room because of course it's so cold, and
Not
they're like
yet.
totally making fun of me all the time. So I guess it's normal for
Yeah.
people who do feel cold.
I think some people do, but again, well, don't want to medicate you here, but you know, some people is general, they tend to be more cold as
Right.
compared to others. But sometimes there are some hormone levels and things that one can be a bit more hot, but there are other symptoms along with it, which can be checked. But generally, there are people.
Amazing.
One would say, you know, I'm cold, other one would be perfect or whatever.
One should listen to one's body.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's very important.
Right.
No, but then at the same time, you know, this is one thing which I think, and that is that, you know, if Allah's made us, you know, He's designed us in such a way where we're very dynamic. And then if He's given us these seasons too as well, I think that the body
just
gradually adapts to the
adapts to it.
temperatures too as well.
True.
So just give your body a little bit of time. So any 2-3 quick tips for all those people who are out there, please go ahead.
I think most important thing that I want to say is because I see patients every day who have flu, and they keep taking antibiotics for it.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't. Flu is a viral infection. Antibiotics have absolutely no effect on flu. If you think you've got a secondary bacterial infection, please see a doctor who can then examine you. Flu takes 7 to 10 days to get better, and that's a natural history of the flu. And you can get fevers and aches and all that during that. That's the way your body fights the flu.
Okay.
Just rest, lots of fluids, have Strepsils, anything else that makes
feed
you
the flu, eat
comfortable.
a lot.
And and you take 2-3 days usually,
Yeah.
you know, and then you start feeling better. But it takes about a week, 10 days to get better. So please don't take an antibiotic as soon as you have the flu.
And there's this magic medicine, I don't know whether I should be taking the name, but I can ask the doctors, Arinac. So I think it helps a lot. So every time I'll call my doctor, he'll be like, just take one Arinac, put it, and I'm like, okay, so start taking. So do you recommend that medicine for flu as well?
It's something which helps the pain and the secretions.
Yeah.
You could take it, you know, occasionally, but I would suggest generally just have a word with your doctor.
Okay.
Just stick with simple painkillers,
Okay.
paracetamol or something like that, just for the pain. Anything for the secretions, or Joshanda, or honey in water,
Yeah.
Vicks, all these common home remedies.
Will help.
And anything more than that, and especially if it's going to be for more than a day or two, just see and speak to your doctor.
Yeah, you know,
Then just-
I'm sorry I'm
It's
cutting you. I
okay,
even told Shazad the other day he had this nasal thing going on. My only go-to thing is the Hivit nasal spray. I didn't say the name.
Yeah.
It's the
Saline.
like best most thing ever, right?
Not for flu. It's a treatment for allergy.
It's the allergies that I
And-
mentioned,
and-
right?
and it's a
Yeah.
steroid
Don't defend
spray.
yourself now. Shiza.
I already did mention I have like flowy eyes.
So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
steroid spray.
Right.
It is one of the brands which makes that, and it has a role in nasal allergy, and
Right.
very important role. But it should be under the supervision of a doctor
Of course,
for a
yes.
specified period of time.
Right, of course. You wanted to add something?
I was just going to add to Arinac because it's one of the antihistamines in it. The question you asked, what does it do to your the mucus and secretions and all that? Flu shot doesn't, but this does.
Okay.
It changes it because it dries up the secretions.
Yeah,
So you are actually altering the, you know,
Okay.
generally.
So probably flu shots are better, ladies and gentlemen. I take my word back. I'm not going to defend like Shiza.
Okay, fair enough. So thank you so much for coming here and joining us and giving out the basic health remedies that you can actually take care of. And do not be your own doctor. That is what I gathered from all of this. to be
Exactly. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere because when we guys are going to come back, so earlier we were talking about within the house. Now we're going to talk about outside the house. All right, let's take a break. Good
Stay
morning.
tuned.
from 1947 to 1948. Initially, Pakistan used Indian coins and notes with Pakistan stamped on them. In 1948, finally Pakistan issued its first currency note. In 1953, State Bank of Pakistan issued banknotes of rupees 5, 10 and 100. In 1957, rupees 5, rupees 10 and rupees 100 notes were redesigned and reprinted. In 1957, State Bank of Pakistan added rupees 50 note. In 1965, rupees 500 notes were added. In 1967, all the notes were redesigned and reprinted.
Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shazan Shazad, and in the first segment, we were talking about some basic health issues that we do face in this particular season.
Exactly. But now, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, we're definitely in the previous segment, we were talking about within the house, you know, how we can get a cold and then we turn on heaters and how it can have an effect on our health. But other than that, you know, the world we live in, you know, when we step outside our house, I think that place is more dangerous than your house as well. And it's because of the fact that since I think that the world has ever existed and wherever there has been mankind, I think that there has been pollution too as well. And pollution, ladies and gentlemen, can be of so many different types. There's air pollution, there's noise pollution, there's soil pollution, there's plastic pollution, there's industrial waste, and so on and so forth. And then the cars we drive, and then the emissions, and then the ozone layers is actually depleting. So there's, I mean, ultraviolet rays in it too as well, and it's having an impact on our daily health routines too as well.
Yeah, it does actually.
I thought you wanted to say
No,
something.
I actually do. So when we're talking about, especially, you know, we've mentioned that we had a whole show about smog as well before. And so the funny thing, which actually does sort of appeal to me to criticize about, is on TV shows or news and everything, we get footages of thousands of cars lined up in a traffic block and complaining about blanket, you know, smog and everything. But it's funny because there are thousands of cars who are actually producing that smoke, which are actually causing the smog, you know. So it's everything that is, you know, the environmental pollution. You guys have, us, you know, all of us have actually contributed to that. Exactly. So it's a sad thing to talk about, but a very important thing to address.
Exactly, because ladies and gentlemen, then there are people within the society who actually taken up this initiative that they want to clean the environment they live in. What have they done? What are they doing? These are the questions which we'll be asking. What can any individual do to stop these pollutants to have an impact on our health too as well? So on my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by an environmentalist himself. Is none other than Mr. Muhammad Amin. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, I'm fine, thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us. Alongside Muhammad Amin, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by former Public Information Officer, United Nations, Muhammad Abdul Wahab Sahab. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, I am fine. What about you?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for joining us. So I think first things first, I'm going to get started with Muhammad Amin Sahab. Sorry, very sorry. No problem. So Muhammad Amin Sahab, I mean, I think that this can be because of pollution too as well. I think we need to stop that, okay?
It's actually because of all the hairspray that you used in the morning. So.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah. So people do have issues, okay? And you need to be nice to them. I'll look after that. Sure. Now, Amin Sahab, first of all, I want to come down to a point where you draw a picture for every individual who's out there so that they get an understanding of how pollution is actually affecting us.
Basically, it's good to be here today. 2018, as far as 2018, there is a theme for beating pollution. That's the theme of 2018 Environment Day.
Okay.
Plastic pollution is the most dangerous thing.
Yeah, of course.
There are many valuable uses of plastic, but unfortunately, we have become over-reliant on one single use, and that is disposable plastic.
Absolutely.
About 1 million drinking bottles, plastic drinking bottles, are purchased every minute in the world.
Every minute.
Every minute.
1 million.
1 million drinking bottles.
Wow.
There are about 13 million tons plastic that go into the oceans every year. And we are using about 5 trillion bags of plastics every year. And that is the 50% of the plastic use, that is single use of disposable plastic. Now, this whole, plastic use, either, we say that we reuse it or we refuse it. Now, if we can't reuse it, then we should refuse it.
Definitely, yes.
Generally, in our country, we don't care about cleanliness. Wherever, even we open the window of the car, we throw the plastic on the road.
Exactly. You want your car to be clean, but not the roads.
Not the roads, okay? Not the environment.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
want your surrounding to be clean, that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, what it happens, that most of this plastic, it clogs our streets.
Yeah.
There's, a lot of litter of, most of the garbage of plastic is, on our streets. It also, disturbs the sewage system.
Yeah.
It blocks. And the plastic that goes into the water, that is very harmful to wildlife, marine life, for the birds, okay, for human beings. Because most of the plastic is does not absorb so easily in the water. Okay, so it takes a lot of time. So the plastic remains there, and we get polluted. Because of that.
Right.
So our water in Islamabad, even what kind of water we drink. If we go to Rawal Lake, you see huge plastic litters there.
Right.
Have you been there?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I've been there, but
I'm
I haven't
sure.
seen plastic litter over there, though.
No, I agree what you're saying. I've been to people's places in Banigala, and their lawns open into the Rawal Lake, and they are actually disgusting to watch. I'll be honest. So, since we are addressing the plastic waste issues and all the other land waste that we're talking about, solid waste, Saidpur village in Islamabad is such a beautiful place. I'll tell you why. The only reason, because I do not see any litter over there. There are similar places, like the village in Saidpur. I've seen in Rawalpindi. The streets are the same, the design or everything is the same. The only difference is they're so polluted you don't even want to look at them for once. So what do we do about that? I think it's going to take us years to get rid of that.
I mean, just imagine that in Rawalpindi, where there are nallas within the streets too as well, on the left and the right hand sides, and you will find too many things thrown in those nallas too as well, that you cannot even imagine, and it's always a disgusting sight to look at. So please, people, I think that we need to be responsible too as well. And to give an example of how anybody can be responsible, I'll have to move on to Mr. Abdul Wahab Sahab over here.
Perfectly all right. I would really like to appreciate what you said.
Thank
you. know, we need to sensitize people.
Yeah.
We need to tell people how plastic pollution, littering, smoke, poisonous smoke coming out of cars, untreated smoke from factories is endangering our future.
Yeah.
Right.
In general, in Pakistan or in South Asia, people really don't care about. I mean, for them, environment is something secondary, unimportant.
Yeah.
Right.
So in a bid to sensitize public, Amin Bhai, and we have other colleagues as well, we formed a group, and we have started sensitizing first university students. So what we are planning, first we will go to all universities and colleges, and then we will go down to schools level as well. We have to tell people how they have to safeguard. For example, as you rightly introduced, I worked for the UN for 13 years. You will be surprised to know, even there was a general or highest civil ranking officer, if he was in a room, in order to smoke a cigarette, he will take 2 minutes leave, he'll go out, smoke and come back, because every person there knows that when somebody smokes, he doesn't endanger his own life, but he creates hazards of cancer for passive smokers. You see, so we have to really, tell people how littering is bad, how plastic is blocking our sewerage system. You will be surprised. You might have gone through this news item. In Indonesia, like almost a week ago, a whale died because of 5 kg plastic bags stuck in her liver or perhaps stomach. You see, so she died because of that. Our sewerage system throughout Pakistan is choked. Islamabad is much blessed. Go to Lahore, go to Karachi.
But only for a little time though.
For a little time, exactly. You see, so the thing is, first we have to really, bring sensitization into society. We have to make people aware that basically, we have to change our lifestyle. We have to get rid of this plastic. It's a big menace to our society. And you will be surprised.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I was in Rwanda quite several times. Rwanda became plastic-free country in 2006.
Wow.
Can you imagine? It's an East African country.
Yeah, with so many conflicts and
when I was
crises.
there, I wasn't expecting much. I said, Africa is much neglected, underdeveloped, and sort of tribal look. But when people at the airport asked me to take my wrappers off my baggages, I was surprised.
Wow, imagine.
And I will, when I tell you, you will be surprised. Usually UN cars, since they have diplomatic immunity, they are not checked. But Rwandans used to check every UN car just to get every plastic bag removed before entering Rwanda.
Wow.
That's great, right? We do need such initiatives over here as well if we do need to actually cope up with the environmental pollution. But the one amazing thing that you mentioned, I don't know why I'm slipping off now. So one amazing thing you mentioned was that you're going to educate children from from schools and universities.
Exactly.
So in my school days, I was in Murray, and a presentation convent I was studying in. There was this very strict rule that there is no wrapper allowed on the floor. On the ground, and when I went there, I was used to the previous schools that I was studying in, so everything I'd buy, I just throw it away. And people would actually come to me and tap me on the shoulder, excuse me, pick this up. So the school was like so clean. So when I came back to Rawalpindi, Islamabad after that, I was telling all my class fellows the same thing. And in the university that I study right now, we're not allowed to use plastic bags, plastic straws, anything at all, which is a great initiative.
Exactly.
But one other thing that we cannot sort of ignore is the overgrowing population. South Asia, of course, but Pakistan specifically, let's address that. There's urbanization because of that, there's deforestation because of that. You need to, of course, accommodate the people and provide them with the basic facilities. That is automatically increasing the environmental pollution. How do we deal with that?
Actually, like you said, that every member of the society has to be involved. It's not the Prime Minister who has announced, clean and green and clean Pakistan campaign. Every member of the society,
Absolutely.
we have to involve. Like, say you have done a program in our park, Kachna Park. We started, a year ago. Now that is one of the cleanest park in town.
Absolutely.
One of the best park, we did plantation, we did, we do clean, that park every Sunday. Or, in between also, if there is garbage, we have that pickers in our hands. In the morning we walk and, we have glove, we have, one bag, with us, and we take out that one, and we put the garbage litter, in
I hope that bag is not made of plastic though.
Unfortunately, that is still of plastic.
I would just add here, we have moved a step further. We have introduced biodegradable plastic bags in Kashnar Park. So, we are trying to introduce the idea that, at least the plastic bag we are using right now, because we don't have alternate arrangements right now. You see. So, that bag usually, it has like almost 4 to 6 months life, if I'm not wrong. So, that automatically degenerates into soil.
Wow.
So, if, for example, the society we are in, immediately, we can't really practically put ban on plastic use. But at least as a next step, we can move towards biodegradable plastic bags.
Right.
And then gradually we should move to a plastic-free society as we used to have 20 years ago.
Exactly.
I do remember whenever we used to go to market, I used to go to market with my father, we were carrying cloth bags with us in order to buy vegetables,
Right.
fruits.
When we used to go to Sunday Bazaar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you would go to market, for example, we were living in F61 back almost 20, 25 years back.
Yeah.
And we would go to Cake Palace or any other shop.
Yeah.
Everything would be given in a paper bag.
Okay.
You see, and paper bag we were using. Right now, if you tell somebody, I mean, please don't use plastic bag, he or she would say, how life is possible without a plastic
What
bag?
can you do other than that?
You will
Which
be
is actually
surprised.
Because imagine if you went to buy like 10 kgs of apple, you know, you cannot come back without a plastic bag. I mean,
Yeah.
you need a plastic bag for
But
that.
cloth bag can replace that.
Yeah, cloth bag.
What I would like to add, I was watching first segment as well of this program. The most dangerous thing in Pakistan, people in restaurants like these dhabas or khokas, they are giving hot tea in plastic bags.
Yeah.
They are giving hot curries in plastic bags. And you will be surprised if Dr. Saiban would have been here earlier, they would agree that the menace of cancer has grown too rapidly in Pakistan during the last 5 to 10 years. The reason being, go to any shop and every hot, very hot stuff would be given in a plastic bag, and people have got adapted to that. They won't object, they won't ask them to give aluminium foils.
Right,
Even a company like Savor Foods, who have huge business in Pindi, Islamabad, they are giving hot rice in polyethylene bags or those boxes, which are more dangerous than polyethylene bags because they melt at lower temperatures.
Just give me a minute, let me confirm it. Does that matter?
It can have an effect, yes.
Oh, yeah, it can have an effect because Dr. Saab is still sitting over here in the studio, so I thought, you know, I should take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah.
But now at the same time, you know, before wrapping it up, we're just going to share one simple example, and that is from obviously Europe, somewhere in Europe, that they've actually put on this. It's not like a vending machine, but I think it's like a machine where you put a plastic bottle in it and you get like 0.50 euros, and then you can cash it too as well. So people have started gathering a lot of plastic bottles wherever they may find out on streets too as well. Go throw it into the machine, take your money, go back home.
Exactly.
So, because I cannot think of, or probably, you know, the world has never ever thought of any other idea better than plastic till date. So we cannot put a ban, but can we opt for recycling plastic and then using it over and over again rather than producing more and more?
Exactly.
Anybody?
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, you know, apart from South Asia, go to Europe, go to US, go to Canada, they all have these recycling points.
Yeah.
You drink a bottle of water, you drink a bottle of soft drink, and you will find a bin offering you to get it disposed over there.
And you get money.
You get money,
Yeah.
and it gets recycled. So what happens right now, if UN is giving the statistics, UN Secretary General in his press conference on World Environment Day on 8 June 2018, he said that every year we are handing over almost 8 million tons of plastic to oceans.
Okay.
Our, I mean, marine species are endangered.
Yeah, of course.
Our ground species are endangered. So basically what we have to do, you're very right, that we immediately we should move to this recycling thing.
Right.
You see, as you know, I mean, we should be lucky enough that present government should really focus on this. You see, and at least we can remove some heaps of garbage from the major cities.
Exactly.
When you talk about solid waste management, right now this is the major issue in our civil society.
Exactly. And
Every big city is having huge heaps of garbage next to living areas because we have no place.
And even huge looks smaller if you go to Karachi, ladies and gentlemen. Karachi is disturbing in terms of pollution too as well. But thank you very much for being
Peshawar
with us.
is also same.
Yeah, Peshawar
Yeah,
is.
Peshawar is.
But thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to have a smaller conversation rather, But we'll definitely have you back. We'll definitely ask you about your program, and we want
Sure.
you to take a lot of pictures and videos so that we
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
how
sure.
kids are responding to that too as
Yeah,
well.
it was a real pleasure to be with you.
Thank
as
you
well.
very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Pleasure to be with you.
And
Thank
you
you.
know, since we just mentioned that there's a lot of waste going into the oceans, there's a certain amount that oceans can take as well. I mean, sooner or later, very sooner in fact, there's going to be a time when the oceans are not even the place where we should be dumping the waste, and we will be
In the
living
first place,
among the
yeah.
waste. Imagine
Exactly.
that. And also one more thing, since Pakistan is an agrarian society, so, you know, a lot of solid waste goes into the soil. Imagine the soil pollution that is causing, and then of course the farm productivity is going to be altered, which we do not want. So please, please, please start with yourself. On individual level, everyone contribute to the environment.
Exactly. Or probably, you know, if you've actually bought a bottle of plastic, please make sure that you use it over and over again and don't throw it away. Probably just put your peanuts into your plastic bottle. I mean, so that you can only eat 2, 3 or 4 at a time. So ladies and gentlemen, please do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name
Well
of,
this morning.
on Twitter,
Well this morning without a G.
on Daily Motion and YouTube.
Well this morning.
And this fabulous repeat's going to be at
11:05 in the night.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.